Hello everybody and welcome to the Retro Tuesday stream. I think it's one of my favourite days of the week actually. I'm really enjoying playing these old retro games and doing some streams and chatting to everybody as we play. We've been doing Final Fantasy for the last couple of weeks, or Final Fantasy 2 as it was remembered back in those days on the Super Nintendo. That's why you're seeing Final Fantasy 2 on the screen. That is the version we are playing, the Super Nintendo version. And this week is an exciting week because we are getting up to a very critical moment in the game, and I am very much looking forward to, talking about that, showing that off. This is the reason that I think Final Fantasy IV remains a masterpiece in the JRPG genre, and is a significant reason, I believe, that Final Fantasy has been such an enduring series. Remembering that this was the second Final Fantasy that people got exposure to in the West, I think that this is a pretty amazing effort at storytelling, especially given the time that it was first released. And yeah, it really set up, the tone for the series thereafter. So we'll just give people a moment or two to log in, as we always do. Hopefully there are people that are around and can jump on and say hello, and we'll get stuck into it. Really excited. Hello and welcome. Welcome, Sean Muskind. Thank you for joining us again. I figured you might be around for this one. This is a moment that I'm sure you remember quite well as well from your times playing Final Fantasy IV. I don't know if you agree with me that this is kind of the key moment of the game. The pivotal moment, the biggest moment in the narrative, comes about 6 hours in, as we have found. And yeah, it really sets the tone for the rest of the game as well, but this moment is kind of transformative for the experience. Yes, that's the best way to put it, I guess. Here's the big question: am I going to do it or not? Actually, who knows? Maybe the boss immediately beforehand will get us. I know we're preempting what's going to happen in the stream, but yeah, I remember back when I was young playing this for the first time. Thought I beat the boss, and stuff happened, which was very thrilling for young me, in love with JRPGs and everything that they were really standing for. Alright, so we might jump in and get going. I'm sure a couple of other people will. I hope a couple of other people will join us as we stream along. And yeah, we'll have a good riveting chat. So, as with previous weeks, what I've done in the time between streams is play a little bit more through, not to actually progress the story or get any further in the game, but just to level up characters. So you may remember from the stream last week, we lost our entire party basically that we built up previously, and we were left with two new characters, these two twin wizards, and they were fairly underleveled at the time you get them. So I have gone through and leveled them up to level 15. I think they were level 10 when they joined the party. By the end of the stream last week, they were level 11. I only played for around 20 minutes or so because I'm pretty sure that I'm at a high enough level to progress right now. But yes, I did level them up. That's the only difference between where we ended things last week and when we start things this week. So here we are. We are at the Mountain of Doom, as we're about to discover, having progressed a long way. And for people who perhaps missed the previous stream or listened to this one as their first stream on playback, what happened immediately before this was that Cecil the Dark Knight has discovered that he needs to go on a quest to become a paladin, and to do so he needs to go up this mountain, climb the mountain and overcome its trial. He needs to do that because as a Dark Knight he lacks the ability to harm the big bad in the world. He needs to get rid of the dark weapons and become a paladin. Get the white weapons. It's all very black and white stuff, but funnily enough, this game's actually a little bit more nuanced on the morality tale than it sounds. But at this moment, we're looking to trade our black sword for a white sword and cloak. Okay, yes, hopefully, if they don't tune in, that is definitely their loss. This is This is the scene. Whether we continue to do the Final Fantasy IV stream after this, I don't know. We might move on to something else. There are so many other retro games that I'm looking forward to talking to everybody about, but I definitely wanted to get to this particular scene before we cycled on. But we will give people just another minute or two to jump on. So in the meantime, Sean, what have you been playing over the last week? What's been keeping you going? The Doritos for the Elder. Yes. I actually often thought that, you know, that old 8-bit theatre webcomic, I was hugely addicted to that as a kid because it was stupid webcomic, early era webcomic nonsense, and it just hit my funny bone, I guess. But I always thought that it'd be pretty neat if they did a Final Fantasy IV take on that as well. As great as the original Final Fantasy 8-bit theatre was, Final Fantasy IV one would be perfect for this as well. You've got so many iconic moments that you can lampoon quite easily. Ah, Shantae. How is the new Shantae? For whatever reason, Way Forward just ignores me. It's weird because I've given like every Shantae game a 5 out of 5 star thing, and they just keep ignoring me whenever I ask them for review codes. But I'm definitely going to pick that up at some stage. It looks great. How is it? Because that's the same Shantae that the first half of which launched on Apple Arcade, right? So I've actually played through half of it anyway, and I guess the Switch one is the other half. Okie dokie, so let's jump into this mountain. So we're out here in the world. Like I said, we've progressed from the town of the wizards, where we met up with the two twins, and now we are here at this. Okay, cool. Yeah, cool. So I'll definitely. I really enjoyed the first half that I played. Was a little bummed that it kind of stopped halfway through. So I'll definitely find time to grab it on Switch. I think is probably the better platform for me. I do love my Shantae. It's one of the few platformers that I have time for because it's not really my genre, but the characters and music and art design of Shantae really hooks me in. Anyway, we're going to go into this mountain right now. Here we go. Boom. So we enter the Mount Ordeals, which is a very literal name, I guess, for the mountain. I mean, if you're told to go up to the top of Mount Ordeals, you've probably got a sense of what you're going to be looking forward to in your mountaineering journey. But yes, we're at Mount Ordeals, and the first thing we will notice is that there is a big fire there. Now, that fire would stop you if you hadn't had the two wizards join you, because you need somebody to put the fire out. Cecil can't. So that's kind of a way of forcing you to go into that town at some point and progress the story. Make sure that they're in the party before you can move on, because they're pretty important to the narrative from here. Hello, Dithy Ram, and welcome to the stream. Someone just posted my translations of a drama CD to YouTube. Yeah, okay, sure. Send me the link. Drop me a link in Facebook. Drop me a link on Twitter, and I would definitely, I'll definitely check it out. Thank you. Thank you for the hint. Heads up. Okay, so here we go. The two little wizards are there, and now they're going to put out the fire. Thank you very much, Dizzy. Appreciate it. Dark Knight's P-Fire, so they can't put their flames. That's right. That's great. They're very good at melting ice, but not so great at dealing with the fire. These two are a little bit of a comic duo, actually, because obviously they're young wizards and they have a banter between one another that goes on. Okay, so, and in meanwhile, of course, we do have a dramatic cutscene. So, very cinematic of the game, to cut away to a scene that we're not actually participating in. So, last week, Rosa, that's the character right at the top of the screen that's now wrapped up in a rope, as was common to do with women characters back in early era JRPGs. She is captured by the bad dude, Golbez, and there's Kane next to them. And yeah, we'll just watch this through. Milon of Earth at your service. So he's a elemental elder of sorts, because Final Fantasy, couple of common elements is the crystals, the 4 crystals, each representing an element of earth, fire, wind, air, or water. They also tend to have fiends that also represent those 4 things. So this is the Fiend of Earth. I didn't know that story. There's a guillotine that got edited into a giant steel ball, huh? Interesting. I guess that's slightly less explicit as a torture device. A murder device. Ah, there. You mean that one. Oh, that would have been pretty harsh if that was a guillotine. That would have been... yeah. Western audiences can't handle that. As we all know, they're very sensitive towards their violence. So, Kane here is putting this light suggestion in that he should be the one that gets to deal with Cecil, and Golbez is kind of shooting him down, which is always a good thing to do. You know, you've got a subordinate whose loyalty has still yet to be proven, so, you know, just tell him to go bugger off. That's a great way of dealing with that problem. You know, the weird thing is I never even actually noticed that until you just mentioned it and I went looking for it. I don't know how many times I played this game, but for whatever reason, all I ever saw was that she was kind of captured and tied up, you know, captive situation rather than imminent sacrifice situation. So that's that puts a new context into this scene. They're very nasty people, aren't they? Even by the standards that I thought they were previously, they're very nasty. Okay, so we have control back. Basically what that was the Fiend of Earth has been sent to kill Cecil because Golbez is worried about what Cecil is doing, hiking up the Mount Ordeals, and that gives us an indication of who will probably be fighting. So here's some enemies to deal with, let's just deal with them. So this is about the point of the game where if you're not really quite well leveled, things can get very difficult because enemies start to use, even common enemies start to use magic, and magic tends to do a lot of damage and so on and so forth. So you need to make sure that you're definitely keeping track, keeping pace with the enemies as they level up. But like I said at the start of the stream, I have done the right thing, so I shouldn't have any problem dealing with these enemies and getting to the top. There we go. Making good money actually doing these fights too now. So... yes, that's true as well. This game really wants to reinforce that you don't want to be using dark magic for too much longer if you don't have to. By making Cecil relatively ineffective. I mean, he's still doing a lot of damage, but that's because he's quite over-leveled at this point, because I've done the right thing. But yeah, if you're just tracking along with the experience levels of roughly the progress and you haven't been doing the grind, then you're in for a pretty tough time of things right about now. Yeah, I couldn't remember if the dark skills were, if Cecil had them in this game at any point. Because if you play, for example, the one I'm more familiar with is the 3D remake, which is the one that was released on DS and mobile devices and whatever. That one Cecil has a really powerful attack that hits everything through dark magic. But it's not present here. I couldn't remember if he actually learnt it at some point. Obviously he won't. I knew he wouldn't by now, but I just couldn't remember if he actually acquired it at any point. I guess it makes sense. You can't have your hero be using dark magic. That would be very unheroic of him. Anyway, it's this. The good thing is that this dungeon is not actually too long. We're actually making really good progress through it already. Yes. Yes. That's right. I can only imagine that would have started a whole bunch of rumours about how to get that ability. In the magazines and whatever of those times, I'm sure people would have been wondering why Cecil can't use it, and looking for ways to unlock it, trying all kinds of cheat codes, I would imagine. Oh, there's a big horde of zombies. Let's wander through them. So we're about to see Cecil's complete inability to damage dark things right now, because yeah, one damage against a zombie. Luckily I do have access to dark magic, which certainly helps. Helps clear the grounds, clear the field a bit. Of course, I can also use white magic on them, I'm 99% sure, but not worth it. Can I just use these spells? I need the white magic to heal my characters. There we go. Survived the horror show that was. All good to play one of those zombie games now. Okay, so up we go. And up and climbing. And an old friend rejoins us, as you will remember Teller from the earlier part of the game. Old man. Everyone loves Teller. Speaks a bit funny though. You seek for Meteo as well. Not entirely sure that was checked by the editors. Yeah, I mean, were they in the Japanese version of the game? Is it just they were cut for the English version, or once again showing that I don't entirely know my history of Final Fantasy II as the Super NES, as it was on the Super NES, but right, okay. So back in pre-patch days, they had different versions of the game. Ah, remember the days where games couldn't be patched? So sometimes you'd end up with a version that didn't work at all, and then you had to go and rebuy it when they eventually released a version that fixed the big bug. I remember those days. Right, okay. I've been seeking the magic of Legend Meteor. So Teller's solution to Golbez, the problem of Golbez and all the evil Empire stuff, is to go and learn the most powerful magic spell there is, and then just cast it. So he's on a quest to go and do that, and that's led him up Mount Ordeal. Right, I see. Thanks for clarifying that. So I'm playing easy type then. Well, no, I'm playing the US type. It'd be interesting. I guess the later remakes for the DS and GBA and whatever were based on the original, not easy type. I came here to be a paladin. My dark sword cannot defeat Golbez. That's the summary again of what he's doing. Just reminding you while we're on this quest. Up the mountain. Meanwhile, the two little kids are having a silly conversation on the side. Yes, he is the source of all evil. Very judgmental by Teller there. No effort to understand the context of what's happening. Maybe this is just a difference of opinion. There we go. So that's good and handy. Level 23 Mage has joined us again. And he's got some spells that he can bring to the party, which are of significant help, given that I've only got the one warrior in the party. They're all magic users otherwise. Interesting mix, but certainly works for the context of this part of the dungeon. Okay, so we'll head over this way. There's a treasure chest. Get a bit of loot. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you've got to remember he's an old guy, so he's not as virile as he used to be, and therefore he just doesn't have the magical potency that he once did. But in context, there's not that many enemies that he has to fight right now, so you only really need to get one good fight out of him. Oops, I cycled through that text a little bit fast, but what that was there was some voice out there that said something to them, and it wasn't any of them in the party, which is very spooky, of course. Yeah. Yeah, we talked about that in streams past, that Final Fantasy IV actually does a really good job of using gameplay mechanics to actually enhance the storytelling experience. Something that I think a lot of game developers can still learn from. You don't always need to use words and big expensive cutscenes. You can just use gameplay mechanics cleverly and people will understand what the story is. Okay, so moving on. As we get to here, see, hiss, that's the thing. We're hearing a hissing sound, which is very spooky, very creepy. Of course, Porum and Palom are teasing one another about it. But before we do that, let's use a tent. Because I think we all know what's coming. And we're going to want to be fully healthed up, healed, and ready to go. Okay, and I better do the right thing and just save, just in case something happens and I need to I need to jump back. You don't want to watch me play 20 minutes of dungeon crawling again to get to this point again. Oh. Not gonna waste hit points and whatever fighting random enemies right now. Okay, so hiss again. This was before they turned triggers off when you moved over certain tile sprites in JRPGs. Oh, for goodness sakes. More hissing. Watch out, I feel something evil. Very polite fiend of Earth, because he, you know, does say, well, hello. It's very nice to say hello. Milon, who we just saw in that cutscene before, he's at the top of the mountain. He's there to deal with Cecil before Cecil becomes a paladin and gets the powers to actually defeat them, which makes this battle a little bit problematic, because Cecil's not very good at fighting anything there. We'll need to use the magic. We will need to use magic to deal with them. Anyway, we do have white magic, which should hurt them. Not much power there in Old Man. But he can use fire, so let's do that. And the real spell, Fire 2. Oops. They're all getting drained now. That should deal with the common enemies, yep. And now what we've got to do is deal with Milon, who's going to continue to cast nasty spells at us. Luckily, we do have two white mages, or two people that can cast white magic, so all these lightning bolts that we're getting struck by we can actually deal with, that's fine. Now the other great ability that the twins have is this ability called Twin. That obviously uses both of them to do, so it takes them both out of the fight temporarily, but it's a pretty powerful ability, as we're about to see. And we'll continue to use Teller to just heal everybody, because that's really what he's best for at this stage. You use the two twins for their abilities to their twin ability, and then you use Teller for his healing. That's the strategy through this battle anyway. Oh, there we go. So just like that. Just like that, we've beaten that guy. We've got our experience points. But I'm going to cheat now and show that I actually know what's coming next. I'm going to go and heal using a tent again. You'll see why soon enough if you haven't played this game before. Sorry, it's a little bit of a cheat of knowledge, I guess. But it is what it is. Not completely necessary technically, but it's the best way to get through it, I find. Yeah. If you can put up with a random enemies, I'll just run away from them. Okay, so we beat the boss there. We walk across, and of course, that was just a false flag. He's actually not dead. Now he's even more monstrous, and he's attacked us from behind, just to make things even more difficult. This is where the real boss battle starts. He's obviously very ugly now. He's become the full fiend form. But basically actually the same strategy to deal with him. The only difference is you do want to use Cecil there to actually use items, I guess. I use him as a bit of an item healer. He helps Teller with the magic. Oh, and he's dead already. There is a problem if you if the boss decides to attack a single character a couple of times in a row, then the character has no chance. Unfortunately. Anyway, at some point, we'll be in a position where I can start to use the Twins ability, which is really where I get the damage from in this battle. There we go. I've got plenty of potions and stuff, so it's not a big deal. Like, this battle is not challenging as such. It's more a process, but it can be a little bit frustrating at times. With the main goal, of course, being to make sure that everybody stays healthy as much as possible. You just want to focus on keeping everyone's health up, because he can attack a couple of times quickly in a row. But Flare does a lot of damage to him, so, you know, we're making good progress. We are making good progress. I wish there was a way to... Oops. I don't know if there's a way to actually switch past characters to move to a different character if you don't want to use the turn of one particular character at a point in time. Like at the moment, I'd love to not use Cecil. I'd just like to jump over to the Twins, but I don't know if that's possible on the Super NES one. Certainly possible with later versions of the game. Yes, unfortunately I can't hear the music because I've turned it off so I can concentrate on the stream and you don't get the feedback. But yes, this boss has great music. Yeah, I didn't think I could. I thought I had to wait for him. See, now I'm just going to have to wait for him to do an attack, otherwise I'll waste the magic energy, which I don't want to do. Come on, dude. Use your attack. Another one of those conveniences, along with the ATB bar, so you know exactly how long it is before your character's turn. Things got easier later on. With Final Fantasy IV, more convenient, not necessarily easier. As we saw, Cecil's sword didn't do much damage anyway, which is why I haven't really bothered with it. It's all about using the flare. There we go. And yeah, sorry I had to talk through that music. I know it's a great song, but if I don't talk, YouTube copyright strikes you with Final Fantasy IV. So, yeah, I needed to talk through it, so it kind of muzzled out the music a bit. Okay, so we're moving on. Palom and Porom get their experience levels. And... What? You beat me twice. Yes, I did. And then for some reason he falls off the mountain, so... Pretty cool. Alright, so, just check. Cecil's all good. And we're about to go into my favourite moment in the game. This is the bit that I've been really looking forward to talk with you all about and show off, because this is the moment that defines Final Fantasy IV. As you can see, right there on the map, there is a tiny little door, which in the circle of stones, and we're going to go into there. Always a good start when they say my son, because Cecil didn't know his dad. I've been waiting, sorrow fills me, I shall entrust you with my power. And grieve that no other way remains. Very weighty text there, very Shakespearean. Picks up a magic sword of some kind, and turns into a new sprite. Part from your past, conquer your darkness within. If you can't overcome your past self, the sacred power of light will no longer accept you. This is my own fight, I must defeat him to amend my past guilt. And just like that, you fight basically in a mirror environment, because that's very symbolic. Now, here's the thing, that was the attack that Sean was talking about beforehand. Here's the thing about this battle. You can attack, but as you'll read at the top, to be a real paladin, yeah, it absolutely did to me as well, because I, like everybody I guess, just went crazy with the fighting. You must not fight now. So the instructions are there quite clear. You must not fight. And yeah, basically you have to sit there and let him wallop you while not dying. But yeah, as Sean seems to have done, and I certainly did as a kid, I didn't really pay attention to the text, did I? I just went wailing away with the attack button and couldn't work out why I could not beat this guy. Because the other thing is, it is just lengthy enough that you feel like you're not doing something right if you follow the instructions by not attacking. And if you did what I did as a kid and you keep attacking, that battle never actually finishes. The guy just keeps attacking you back. And yeah, there's no way to win unless you actually don't fight back. So I think this might be the first time in a Final Fantasy game, or even a JRPG at all, I can't think of any earlier example, where there is a fight scene where you are encouraged, or basically you're forced to not actually fight back. I think, in fact, even in JRPGs since, there might not be many examples of that at all. I can't think of any off the top of my head. So it was certainly a moment that really broke with expectations of what you should do in a JRPG, and did so for the thematic strength of the game, because obviously this is about Cecil turning over a new leaf, understanding that, you know, all of the aggression and the violence that came with being a Dark Knight was not the way to look at the world, and that compassion and I guess a sense of martyrdom as well, because you are that kind of pure holy character now. That was the righteousness, that was the way, the path of righteousness, and the game really, this is a kind of pivotal moment for Cecil, because now he becomes a white mage, so, and has now got the power to fight back. He can now damage those creatures of darkness, as we're about to see mechanically on the way back down the mountain. All very clever design. Really, really clever design. Whoever actually thought of this within Square Enix was a very smart person, using very limited storytelling techniques, but doing so in a really high impact way. And it's a much nicer sprite now. Much nicer sprite. Cecil as the Paladin is much more attractive than Cecil the Dark Knight. And yes, we do find out more about the dad character later on as well. Cecil doesn't know much about him right now, so that comes to a head much later on. But there are still more revelations to come from Final Fantasy IV, of course. You're my Dark Knight. And yes, now Teller has also had a bit of an epiphany of sorts, and now he's learnt all the spells. So he's got all his magic back. Including the spell that he was looking for. He can now cast Meteo. Thanks. Yes, thanks again for that link. I've put the order in. I get things delivered to my in-laws' house in Tokyo, so they can then pass it on to me. So it's convenient. I've got a mailing address in Japan, basically, which helps with those things. So I'll definitely... I don't know when I'll actually get my hands on this magazine, but I'm looking forward to it. Teller learned Meteo. That's very important too, as we're about to discover. Yes, absolutely. So, just reading the comment. Teller learns Meteo, and I'll show you in a sec once I get control back over the characters. But Meteo is a spell that costs 99 MP to cast, but Teller only has 90 MP at best, you know, even if he's fully rested and hasn't used any magic. So he's got no way of actually using that spell. Which, as a kid, when I first played this game, I couldn't work out why he just wasn't not able to cast the spell, and it was actually frustrating me a great deal. But we will see why he's learnt it, and why he has that spell in his spell list at some point. Because could you imagine if a JRPG developer gave you a really powerful spell and made a whole story element around that spell, but then made it impossible to cast it? Can you just imagine how people would respond? There'd be no level of acceptance for that. That would be nonsense. Okay, so, a lot to work through here. Firstly, we will show you that. So if you look at magic, so Teller now has all of those spells. He learned them all, he had the Epiphany as I mentioned, and he now has access to basically every spell that's available in the game, including some very powerful ones that cost a lot of magic and are way too powerful for this point in the game. There's no situation where you'll need to cast Cure 4 at this point of the game, but it's there. And then if we look at Black, he has all of the spells here as well, including Meteo, which, as we were just talking about, costs 99 MP, but as you can see, his maximum MP is 90. So there's just no way that we can imagine he can cast that spell. I remember as a kid going like crazy trying to level him up so I could get his MP higher, so he could actually learn this spell. I got one level and I thought, oh, okay, so he doesn't get MP every level, that's fine. Got a second level, third level, and it was a waste of a grind to try and get him to the point where he could actually cast that spell. All for a narrative point, which we'll get to in a sec. The other thing to note is that Cecil, who we have been diligently leveling up since the start of the game, because he is the protagonist, he is now reverted back to level 1, which feels like a real kick in the ribs. It of course goes with the fact that he has now turned over that new leaf and he needs to relearn how to live under this new moral code that he's developed, but mechanically it feels like a huge step back, and it's at this point that you're quite glad that you've leveled up all your other characters in the party, because level 1 does sound very weak. He has got 600 hit points, so he's not completely useless. Like, he can survive a hit or two, but it is a it does feel like a big step back for poor old Cecil. But if I don't kill all these characters with this attack, good. What we will see is that now Cecil can actually hurt those, because you remember moving up the mountain, he could only do 1 damage to the zombie things. Now he's doing a full 200 damage, or thereabouts. So another example, actually, while I'm thinking about these things, another example of where this game is quite willing to, I guess, compromise playability in order to tell the story that it's telling, is that you are forced to walk all the way back down the mountain now. You know, most JRPGs would give you some kind of exit after fighting a big boss battle, or in this case 2 kind of major boss battle moments, plus another storytelling moment. Most JRPGs, even back then, would give you some kind of exit, so you'd just be dropped down to the base of the dungeon. But that doesn't happen here, because they want you to go through the process of Cecil going back down the mountain, getting those first bunch of levels, learning his new abilities, and understanding that he is now a different character. The game wants you to do that, all of that within the context of the Mount Ordeal narrative arc, which is great work. Again, another really clever bit of storytelling, I think. And of course, after fighting 1 battle, Cecil is now level 7, so he's already a lot more powerful. By the time I get to the healing spot, he'll probably get another experience level or 2, because I'll fight a couple more enemies. Nope, okay. Anyway, I'll use another tent. Just quickly save, because I definitely don't want to go if some random enemy somehow manages to kill me, I don't want to have to go through all of that again, that's for sure. There we go. Big bunch of zombies to kill. Cecil also gets some magic spells now. Previously he just had the combat abilities, but now he's got some basic white magic spells, which feels like a nice bonus, I guess. Again, also represents his change in character role, but it does feel like a nice reward for having gone through that ordeal mechanically. He'll get another couple of levels now. And the fact that you have to go back down this mountain is why I think they didn't make the dungeon too long, because that would have been unmanageably painful to have to go back through the whole thing. So, yeah, because we have had a couple of long dungeons in this game so far. Some early on, I think there was one dungeon that basically took the entire stream for the night, all by itself. Just going through it because it was a big one. They make all of that much more manageable on purpose. More level for Cecil, well, 1 more level. So he's basically caught up his levels now, so he's only getting 1 level or whatever per major conflict, per battle he fights, so he's nice and set. There we go. Killed some more zombies. So, since both yourselves, Dithie and Sean, are the ones that are always on the retro cast, is there any particular game that you would like to see me stream? I guess now that we are at the point where we might want to cycle on to the next game, if there's anything that you'd like to see me play, let me know. I've got access to pretty much everything across the early era consoles. Super NES, Mega Drive, Master System, Game Boy Color. So if there's a game that you do want me to stream, just let me know and I will do my best to make it happen. I actually, the reason I would do the streams at different times on the weekend is I did want to give people who are maybe in different time zones a chance to play, to kind of watch some live if they were interested, but that's kind of backfired on me because I have to get up earlier than I usually like to myself. Oh, hello. I didn't even realize you're on the stream. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so I'll make a note of that one, and Wild Arms as well. Yeah, obviously with I can't guarantee that we'll go through the whole lot of the game, mostly because I do think that these streams get dull if it's the one game after a couple of weeks. So I do want to cycle around them, but there's always the opportunity to go back to them afterwards as well. It's good to have you here, even if you're lurking. Thanks for watching. Yeah, 10 AM is my Sunday stream, and actually on a Sunday morning, getting up at 10 AM is just... It's a cruelty I'm doing to myself for reasons I'm not quite sure why. I mean, at some stage I'd like to do some streams of Final Fantasy VI as well, because me being a Final Fantasy nut and all that. But the actual scene that I really want to show off in Final Fantasy VI would be the opera scene, and I think that's quite a few hours of streaming into the game, so I'm not quite sure if I'll get to that one, or maybe I'll just stream that one particular scene, I don't know. The opera scene in Final Fantasy VI is another critical Final Fantasy moment that I have nothing but praise for. Resonant of Fate. Resonant of Fate because it is a much more recent game, as in modern era, because it's a PlayStation 3, now 4 as well. I would play that on the JRPG stream that I do, which is 10 AM on a Saturday in Australian time. I'll certainly add it to the list of games that I should play, and if you're not around, if you're not awake to watch it, then you have to watch it back on playback anyway. Secret of Evermore is a great one. Actually, Secret of Mana would be great as well. Not the terrible remake on the PlayStation 4. They ruined that game. Almost ruined that game on me. But the Secret games would be great. I could also do Trials of Mana. Why am I saying Secret of? I don't even think that's a Mana game, is it? I don't know what I'm thinking. It's late at night and I'm concentrating on fighting skeletons. Secret of Evermore would be great, and it's not related to Secret of Mana, even though they both share the secret in their title. Okay. What was I saying? I should do Secret of Mana, though. That's one of my favourite games of all time. Okay, so we got out of that mountain, and now as we can see, Cecil's up to level 12, so he's nice and powerful. I've run out of magic for my Black Wizard, so I better use another tint just to heal them up before they have to go on the long trek back to the town. Okie dokie. That's a good question. What did I rate Necopara? I rated it pretty high. I've reviewed I want to say the first and the third. I don't think I actually reviewed the second, mostly because there just wasn't much point to doing so. But, or perhaps I reviewed the second and third together as a single review. But I think I gave it 4 or 4.5 or something. That's the Switch one. That's the family-friendly version as such. I quite liked it. I thought it was charming and cute and silly in the right way. So, yeah, it's a kind of fun visual novel that I enjoy. Of course, I don't think I didn't rate it as high as Data Live. I gave Data Live 5 out of 5 stars because that's great. That's my favourite fan service BN. Necopara would be much better if Sunako did the art for the characters. Okay, moving on. Saying that incendiary thing I did. Oops, went the wrong way. It's down this way. You should play Data Live. Yeah, I think you'd like it. Data cliche or not, it's still good fun. Sometimes all you need is a bit of good fun. Data Live is just that. Delivers exactly what you go in looking for. Why won't this stupid Raven go down? Go down, Raven. Go down. Oh, for goodness sakes, he won't die. Let's hit him with a lightning bolt, that'll do it. Or not. No, I haven't had an anime character appear in my dreams, unfortunately. I don't remember most of my dreams, so I guess maybe I have. Not even Hatsune Miku, though, as far as I can remember. Here we go, we're back at the town now. So this was the town of the magic people, and they all did not like me last time I was here. But now I am Cecil the White Mage, so they should. They've forgiven me, you noble looking. See, I've become Adam Driver. See? I am now Adam Driver. They all love me. Because I am a noble looking hunk. This dude turned me into a frog before. You gonna do it again? You gonna do it again? Nope. I sure became a paladin. I sure did. Anyway, it's nice to be liked now. Let's heal up. Look at all the money I've got. 200 gold points. 200 GP, not gold points. 200 gold coins. But I've got 43,000, so... Not only did I come down off the mountain a changed man, I came down fabulously wealthy. I am sure, yes, it's all horrible what's going on in the real world, unfortunately. Solidarity with everybody, everywhere in the world that is protesting right now, because it's all just messed up. And it's sad and very unfortunate. Had them spying on me, but of course I'm good Cecil now, so now they're just going to be my buddy. I have absolutely no idea who M. Dickey is. Sounds like a character name in a JRPG from the Super Nintendo era. So yeah, sorry, I have no idea. So there's a new term that we've just learned. The inscription on this sword is exactly the same as the Mysidian legend. We're about to learn about that. There's only one packet of Doritos and it's at the top of the mountain. So this legend is all pretty potent, pretty important for Cecil. We're starting to learn that he has a past that is rooted in the very mythology of the world that he exists in. We're getting into the determinism phase of every Final Fantasy game, where you start talking about fate and what each character is, fated to do, how they're on a path that they've kind of been set on since birth, and all of that stuff, which is, well, it's not just common to Final Fantasy, it's common to most JRPGs, but it is a recurring theme to Final Fantasy that is every bit as important as, I guess, Chocobos and Moogles and Black Mages. And yeah, it's a timeless theme. It's something I like to muse about quite often, actually, so I don't mind its presence in just about every Final Fantasy game. Cool Ranch Doritos. A Cool Ranch, the really spicy ones. I can't remember the name of the super spicy Doritos. They're my Doritos. The hotter the better. I'm the guy that goes into Cocoa Curry and asks for the 10 spicy, if not 11 if they can't manage it. And they do try to knock me out, but never manage to. Cocoa Curry being a curry chain for people who haven't been to Japan, it's great. Japanese curry is the best, especially when it goes super spicy. Like, we're talking well beyond Indian Vindaloo burn. The hotter the better. So just to back up, Ditty. He's an indie game developer who makes very bad games informed by his Christian fundamentalism. I suspect that I will not play one of his games anytime in the future. Not really my thing. Yeah, that does sound interesting. I'll definitely check that one out, add it to my list. Do not fight with Vengeance Teller. See, that's Wise words to live by. Moreover, you're in no condition to use Meteor. I'm pretty sure the planet gave him Meteor for a reason. Elder? Even if the price is my life, I can't forgive Golbears. We must go back to Baron and help and get the airship to fight Golbears on equal terms. I will open the Serpent Road, go to Baron. See, told you we were going to start talking about Destiny and Fate, and now they're actually explicitly using the words. So even while Cecil and Taylor were going through some pretty major transformations and having epiphanies up on that mountain, I guess the story of the two little kids was lost a little bit, but they certainly went through an ordeal of their own as junior magicians and came through back alive. So now they've had their own moment, and they've decided to stay with Cecil and continue with him on their journey, on his journey, to help him out. They've obviously been become very attached to him, which I don't know if I want to preempt it. Do I want to preempt it? I guess this might be the last stream we do of this game for a while. It doesn't end well for them, let's put it that way. That's a big spoiler, I guess. But they do have a very important narrative role to play yet. They're not just the comic relief character with one useful magic ability. Yeah, it's a bit of a sad story actually, those two. Mind you, they're not the hardest done by characters in the whole game. That's the monk, Yang. He really doesn't have much of a role to play in this game at all, unfortunately. He never gets his chance to shine. He's almost, he's a barely there character, really, is that monk, is Yang. Okay, so we're going through the Serpent Road. Can't remember if you actually have to journey through a road or it just teleports you. Actually. No, it just teleports you. A really long road. Can you imagine how long it took to build that? And we are now in Baron. Yes, got to give everybody another spin. The After Years is fascinating because it really is just a complete repeat, giving everybody a chance to. It really is like kind of like fan service. It is exactly fan service. Because all it exists for is to give fans a chance to go back and experience it all again, really. The king is giving us such a hard time. He was never like this before. Yeah, okay, we get it. The king sucks. A karate man was invited to lead the guardsmen. They are at the inn. Well, I'm pretty sure that tells us where we've got to go next. Who else have we got to talk to? Let's talk to this little kid. What's he got to say? Stop running away. Stop running away. There we go. I missed that Dark Knight. I kind of liked him. Well, now we're even cooler. We're a paladin. Dancing girl? Let's have a... The king doesn't allow us to dance anymore. Are you sad? This is a Footloose moment. See, if they were going to do a remake of Final Fantasy IV, like they did the remake of Final Fantasy VII, where Final Fantasy VII Remake has that, you know, hugely expanded role for Jesse and Biggs and Wedge, and they become major characters in the game. If you're going to do that with Final Fantasy IV, you could have a whole chapter dedicated to this Footloose thing, where you start an underground dance club and get everybody out there dancing, and doing so in a direct opposition to the king's rules, and then you have to beat some guards down who discover you. And see, they should definitely hire me to write the remake of Final Fantasy IV. I'd do a great job. I would. Okay, after that digression, let's go to the inn, let's go meet Yang. Where is he? Oh, Yang. What's she gotta say? Come back here. No, I don't want to sleep. Oh, for goodness sakes. I actually want to read what she says. My dad says we have few customers these days because the soldiers are hanging around. Yeah, we'll deal with that for them. Step Up dance. Yeah, Step Up had some pretty good choreography, that series. Terrible movies, all one and all. I guess the first movie wasn't so bad, but pretty much terrible movies with some great dancing. Mind you, I still give the vote to Flashdance. Flashdance is some spectacular dancing and great movie. Every level, I love Flashdance. That's my favourite movie of the 80s, by the way, anybody who actually cares. Bring me Rube. Bugger off. How rude. Very rude, fellas. Let's talk to Yang. He's a much nicer guy. Oh, we've got to deal with a couple of guards. That's alright. Let's deal with these guys, these clowns. Go away, clowns. Uh-oh. They made Teller mini. How do I make him big again? Which one makes them big? I can't remember half the names of these bloody spells because they're all changed. Maybe Teller has one. How do I make him big? Is it heal? I mean, it's not the end of the world since the enemies aren't that. Don't turn me into a pig. Get big. Yay, I did. That did it. Oh! Now I've got to fight Yang. How rude. Let's twin the guy. Ah, size, okay. Thank you. Honestly could not remember. Oh, comet! Hit Yang with a comet. It's not going to kill him. Imagine being able to be hit by a comet and not actually, you know, fall over. Let's hit him with my most powerful spell that's not Meteor. Let's hit him with Ice 3. How absolutely rude. Let's hit him with some powerful lightning next. Lightning 3 will do it. Yeah, it's just the old Final Fantasy games do throw me a bit. There we go. A couple of big powerful spells from Teller does it. Yeah, some of the spell names really do throw me. Rydia was swallowed by Leviathan, and Edward just floated off in the distance. Edward, I mean, if I'm not going to get another character back in my party, I can do without Edward. Spoony Bard had his moment. There we go. Yang's joined my party. So I finally got a second melee character back. It's almost poetry there. Beating the guards, that's great. Stay at my inn, it's free. It's almost poetic. Great, thanks for joining us on the stream. I'm glad we were able to play through this critical moment and have a good chat about it. And have a great dinner. Catch you later. Thanks again for being on the stream. Okay, so after that conversation, Yang, the karate guy, gave us a key, which means that we can now access the castle. So our goal is now to go into that castle and defeat the guards and confront the Emperor. So we are definitely getting to the, I guess, the main drama points of the game now. But what I will do, because the next thing is the next dungeon and that will be another hour of play or whatever, I am going to save here and we might end this stream tonight anyway. Yeah, because it will be another hour if I get started before I get another chance to save. I want to thank everybody as always for being on the stream. Hope it was interesting. Hope you got to see some key moments in Final Fantasy IV, and I hope the last couple of weeks that we've been playing this, I think this is week number 5 actually, I hope it's given you a sense of what this game's about, and if you haven't played it before, you are encouraged to give it a go. I do highly recommend Final Fantasy IV. I think it is a highlight in the series, and really shows Square Enix at its best as a storytelling outfit. We will be back next week with another retro stream. I may well end up playing this one. I've had a great time with it, so there are certainly more things that we'd like to explore as we press on. But if not, we'll play one of the suggestions, hopefully, that some of the people have dropped in the chat tonight. Otherwise, you can come and join us on the next stream on Friday night. We'll be playing more of Tokyo Dark, which is not fan servicey, even though it's the DD After Dark. But it is a very adult game in a lot of other ways, and it's definitely interesting, and we're having a good time with that. So do join us if we can. Otherwise, we will see you next time. Have a great week. For the rest of the week, hopefully the world settles down just a little bit so that we can all sleep easy for just one night. Otherwise, yes, enjoy the games and we'll see you next time.